this is John Bollinger with Premier Guitar. Today we're looking at the new Blackstar St. James. Now this comes in a couple different varieties. There is the 6L6 equipped, or there's what we're looking at today, which is the EL34 equipped. Now they've came out with a 50-watt combo. They also offered in a head version. Before I tell you all about this cool amp, take a second to subscribe below. Thanks very much. So here's what they're doing. Number one, my favorite thing about this amp is it is light. This thing, they claim, is 47% lighter than the average tube amp, tube combo or head. And I gotta tell you, it is really light. They accomplished that, first of all, by using a candle nut plywood construction on the cab, which is apparently much lighter. So why doesn't everybody do that? Light is good. So next thing they do, they have a specially designed transformer that's considerably lighter, and the good people at Celestion built what they call their new Zephyr, which is essentially, they're recreating a vintage 30, but they're doing it in a much lighter format. So I don't know what all went into this, but man, this thing is light. And that really excited me because when I'm hauling my own stuff, whew, I do not want to haul heavy stuff anymore if I can help it. So I love that. What they're going for is the ultimate direct out options. You have a XLR, you have a stereo line out, and you have USB. So there's three different options like that. In the cabinet simulation, they really went for it on this. There's several different cabinets to choose from. It really gives you an authentic mic'd experience. There's also, you can record silently with the flip of by utilizing the standby switch in the center, which is great. So they really put a lot into that. Next, they have the power switch that gives you a full 50 watts, you know, if you're gigging live or want to go for a live loud recording. Or you can break that down to 2 watts if you're in, say, a small club, or you're trying to record quietly at home and micing it if you don't want to do the direct thing. And there's also a sag setting in the middle. It's going to give you that kind of natural compression. It's a little, it responds differently. It feels more vintagey to me and feels like the amp is just kind of getting into that natural compression that you get when you're cranked up quite a bit. So that's another cool option. The other ingredient I really like about this is that they've done 2 channels, but they've done it, trying to design it with players in mind. Channel 1, where I came in on 1, is very Fendery, kind of black panel vibe to it. And what I like about this too is that both the reverb and the EQ have been tailored for that channel. So when you're in channel 1, the reverb's going to sound more like it would on a black panel Fender. The EQ is like that, much like you would find in the same kind of amp. But when you flip it over to channel 2 in this particular amp, and the EQ responds very differently. There you've got kind of like a mid cut rather than normal mid. The treble and bass react kind of together differently, and the reverb is a different reverb. It's a digital reverb on both, but the reverb is, I think, tamed down a little bit, which is what you want when you kind of have that drive going. Because the other reverb would be, or that Fendery kind of reverb with the inherent, dirt of the overdriven amp is going to be out of control. So this is great for when you're on the fly and you don't want to, tweak everything but change channels. The other cool bit about it, when you're in the channel 2, you have a boost switch right here. So with the flip of or the kick of a toe, you can add another 10 dB. So obviously this works as a combo for a gig or a jam or around the home. But what they're really going for here, in addition to that, is an amp for recording. There's a built-in cab rig output with cabinet simulation that runs studio quality sound to a PA or a mixer via an XLR or a line output, phone's output. Or you can use a USB with a cabinet simulation to record directly to your computer. So right now, I came in just to give you the basics. I'm running, this is my old Les Paul. It's about 16, 17 years old. And I'm running directly into the amp. And we've been micing it at this point with a 57. So I'm going to put this on silent mode with the standby switch. And first setting, second setting in the middle. And third. Now actually right now, I'm just hearing the Les Paul acoustically. I'm not getting that, but Chris, they're recording it, he's hearing it. And I guess it sounds good, but you be the judge. Anyway, I love the fact that in this tiny amp, you've got all those options. So there's a lot of gigs I play that are in-ear gigs and they don't want any sound on stage. This is perfect for that. And you can dial it in with all these different options of the Balance XLR or the 1/4 inch or the USB and the different cab simulations. You're probably going to find what you're looking for and be able to do it either totally silently, you know, through the or with the internal 12-inch speaker blowing right up at you or at the crowd. So great to have all those options. So there's the direct option, but now we're back to miking the cabinet. Now, as far as speakers go, there's also outputs for 16 ohms or 8 ohms. So that's great to have all those options as well. But now, let's look at the power options. Right now, I'm running at 2 watts. Thing I like about 2 watts, you can crank that master all the way up. And an amp just cranked like that, to me, just feels more alive. So I like having that option at a not a painful volume level. So that's great. But, and then you can, that's in the channel 1, channel 2. Very alive. And you know how I mentioned the reverb is different? Now if you can hear verb on that, but if that was, if they use the same reverb as I was using on channel A, it would just be out of control. Here it's just kind of a nice roomy sound. Subtle. Even at this, you know, intense volume of the master being all the way up. So let's go over to the 50 watter. I'm going to bring that master down considerably. that is a whole different animal. Now, my favorite setting is at the sag. Here it is in the channel 1. So you can see it's a little spongy right there, but where it really shines is when you put the dirt on it. Then you know. Just great, man. I mean, that is a very lively amp. So right now, up to this point, I've had the EQ fairly flat, but this is in channel 2. Let's just jack with this mid-range a little bit. Mid-range up. Mid-range down. Totally different than in the other channel. Like when you bring that mid-range down, to me, it feels, you're just getting a lot more kind of high end. It seems a little more chimey to me. Bring it up, it's kind of got that rude thing going. So interesting. But in the other channel, same thing, basically flat. Bass is down a tiny bit. Very Fendery, bring that mid-range up. Let's bring it down. Also, it's got an effects loop I'm not using, but if you're an effects loop person, very handy. Okay, so we've heard it with humbuckers. Let's try some single coils. Okay, so this is my 93 Strat. Let's see what this sounds like in channel 1. Let's get a little ugly on it. Man, I like that sag place. It just feels, I'm loud, but not crazy loud, and it just feels like an old amp that's cranked. Very impressive that for under $1,300, you can get a true tube amp that can go between 50 watts and 2 watts. It has a ton of direct recording options, has an effects loop, reverb, 2 channels that really do sound like 2 different amps. That's a lot of bells and whistles and bang for your buck. So good on you, Blackstar. To read the full written review, go to premierguitar.com. While you're online, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Hell, subscribe to the hard copy of the magazine, have it sent to your house. It's John Bollinger. Till next time.